My Chemical Romance did Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. This was their second record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They were, when this one came out, that song Helena was on here. And there was two big
That
songs on
one,
this
I'm Not
album.
Okay, are the two
And
huge
I'm Not
ones.
Okay. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. Me and Rob are hanging out tonight amidst some good old workplace drama that I'm having to deal with. Man, you gotta love it when you have 40-year-old people acting like 12-year-olds.
I'm wearing the right shirt. I didn't even snap
Dude,
to that.
yeah, dude, everything sucks, man. It is what it is. So we're going to talk about some music. This is the stuff that we like to do. This is the stuff that helps us feel better. These are the topics that, we enjoy speaking about. Takes our mind off of the mundane, the daily grind, and how much that it just, it's on one hand, it's wonderful. It takes care of us, gets our bills paid, feeds us. On the other hand, it can just be a total kick in the face to your morale, your mood, your mental health. So if you're out there and you're dealing with this stuff, man, I feel you, bro.
Yeah, it's rough.
Anyways,
It's consuming.
yeah, dude. Yeah, it is ridiculous. So how was your week otherwise, my man?
Been pretty good. This spring season is kind of like faking us out, so it doesn't come. So I'm like waiting for like that rejuvenation. So I feel like I'm still in hibernation. It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah, man. I had a fun week this week. I had a really busy week. We're going to talk about it more in detail, like a little bit later in the podcast. But boy, I am exhausted, man. I did a lot of driving this weekend. I went to Dallas on Saturday morning, which is, anybody that doesn't know, it's about a 4-hour drive. I watched a band. I went to the most insanely disgusting, shady hotel I've ever been in my life. Had I not already paid for it, I would have absolutely gone somewhere else. Dude, all the reviews said it was fine. Bro, wait till you see these photos, man. I'll send you pictures later. You're going to laugh. But I even made a little video I'm going to put up about this hotel. Dude, they asked me to review it. I couldn't believe they had the courage to ask me that. I reviewed it. I reviewed it all right. But then I woke up on Sunday, drove back from Dallas, and then I did a live stream. Then I went to another show that was an hour and, 10 minutes from here, hung out with those bands, and then drove my behind back home, all to wake up yesterday morning and just be like a zombie, dude. I was so tired. And I dealt with that. Well, then I was doing like my kids were home from school for the eclipse. And so we went out to this skate park where there was lots of open air. And like, so I was like skating with my kids after being this tired and like we had a silly glass. I took a bunch of photos and stuff, hung out with my kids. Oh, bro, this will make you laugh. So before we start talking music, I got to tell you a funny story. It'll be very quick. So I'm playing catch with my son, my oldest. He's 10 years old, almost 11. He's almost 11. He'll be 11 in like less than 2 months. And for the longest time, I would throw the ball kind of high up in the air, like at an arch. And my goal was to get him to chase the ball and like move around for it and not be scared of it. So I'd lob it instead of throwing it like directly at him. And so the other day, can you take this in there and like combine them and then bring me the second half? Okay. Sorry. So I would lob the ball in the air instead of throwing it directly at him. And so this is the first time that I've thrown it in the air and he's like chased it. So I was really proud of him. I was like, dude, you're doing great, man. And as we're talking about it, he goes, yeah, I'm no longer scared of the baseball. Literally, the second he said it, I threw the ball in the air and he missed it with his glove and it hit him right in his face. Like 4 seconds after he said that, he's got a giant knot on his head. Bro, I felt like the worst father on the planet, man.
Is he afraid of the baseball now?
No, actually, I'm even more proud because he said after he like calmed down, because it hurt, it scared him a little bit.
Yeah.
And, after he calmed down, he went right back to catching the ball. But like, I felt about the size of an ant, bro. I felt terrible. And then I also kind of, as like a, kind of a jokester, I almost wanted to chuckle because it was kind of ironic, or it was very ironic, but it was almost poetic how that would happen.
Yeah, that's That's like some dumb thing from a sitcom that would happen, and then like the banana pill slip music would play. Like as soon as the dad does that, beams the kid.
Exactly what I thought was what you just said. So, but man, we had a great weekend, dude. I love this stuff. I got to do a lot of filming, a lot of photographs, meet a lot of people, hang out with a lot of awesome people, and grow this brand and business a little bit more. So we're on our way, man. we're almost at 4,500 subscribers now. So anybody that's listening on or watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Go check out the Punk Odds Rob's channel and help us grow these communities, man. This is a community. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, sorry for the long-winded intro. Tonight we're going to talk about My Chemical Romance and their album, what is it, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge?
Yep.
Let's see. I believe that one came out not came out, sorry. Its anniversary date is this summer. So June 8th, it'll hit 20 years. And so we wanted to talk about some stuff that was hitting a significant anniversary date. So we're going with that. And then later in the show, the primary conversation. Where's the cup?
In the microwave. Let me go with it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Anyways, don't you love these? What would you call that?
Like impromptu moments.
Impromptu moments, and these podcasts that are very real life, man. I don't fluff it up. It's okay, man. People that would be mad about that are probably not my my
fans,
target audience, anyways. Yeah. So, thank you, baby. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about NOFX, the decline. And I think these are pretty good topics because they're polar opposites. So we should be able to get a nice, good mix of people watching this episode. But, they came out around the same time. And I think that's kind of wild.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't? No.
The decline came out in like the late 90s. Yeah.
It's 25 years is its anniversary date.
Oh, okay.
My bad. It's hitting 25 years, and then the other one's hitting 20. Bro, as I was saying it, I was like, that doesn't sound right.
I was like, I was like, wait, what?
Hold on, dude. Yeah. Man, I'm thinking of a different record.
Like War on Errorism came out in 03. Like NOFX doesn't even have a release in 04.
No, I'm thinking of I had the numbers jumbled up in my head. My apologies. We picked them out because they were both significant. They were both having significant anniversaries this year is what it was. My goodness. So, yes, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge hits 20 years this summer. And then this winter season, the decline will hit 25 years old. And we'll probably do another video on that song, EP, whatever you want to call it.
Standalone video on that.
Yeah, with maybe dissect some of the lyrics a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I've got some good notes on it. So we're going to, have a good conversation. So let's start off with My Chemical Romance did 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. This was their second record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When this one came out, that song Helena was on here. And there was 2 big songs.
That one,
on this album.
I'm Not Okay are the 2.
And I'm Not Okay.
Yeah.
And at this time, I was working at Hot Topic. So I was around this music. I was a manager at a Hot Topic, and I ended up staying there for quite some time and working at 2 locations. So I was around MCR, Harry Potter, all that stuff was big back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was around this music. I just didn't really listen to it. I was still more of a punk rocker. I was into the more punk rock side of hardcore music at this point. So I really looked at this stuff as kind of lame, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Later in life, I rediscovered some of their songs, mostly the stuff on the Black Parade, honestly. And I thought, man, I wonder why I disliked this so much. Like, what was my beef? So I started listening to it. And then as, a family man with the kids and stuff, I opened a record store and I started bringing their records into my shop because I bought a used copy from somebody in a collection once and it sold immediately. And I was like, you know what? I need to pay more attention to this. And so I'm saying all that to say that that's the reason for my curiosity with this band. It isn't something I would normally be that interested in. So our first topic for the podcast is My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, celebrates 20 years today. We want to know, is this album punk rock at all? Is this band punk rock at all? Okay, so what is your natural, knee-jerk reaction to that question when I say that out loud?
Well, they come from punk rock. They come from punk rock scenes. Every member of the band was a part of a punk rock scene or something like that. They were birthed out of, the same, not the same location, but the same ecosystem of bands like Jimmy Eat World and Midtown, and out of that. And then so if you look at the individual members of the band, Frankie Iero is the Black Flag guy. These other guys are into Britpop. There's some metal guys in there. So they really are a fusion of a bunch of different genres, but they started in punk scenes. And I think their music is way less emo in the way that people like to think of emo than people actually realize. Like to me, when I think of emo or even the mall emo that they get thought of as or categorized as, I think of stuff that's more derivative of like the shoegaze stuff and the Midwest stuff. This is more derivative of pop punk with these emo like flarings to them. So I would say its base is more like pop punk core. I would say is the base of it. Be like listen to this next to a lot of that other stuff that was right around it. Like I said, I think the core of it is pop punk, and then everything around it made what the My Chemical Romance sound was. Like I don't think it's as emo, like this record in particular. I don't think it's as like emo as it got branded. Like so on that scale, I would say like to me their stuff is very similar to Green Day in that it's more like punk music with combined with classic rock than it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. All of this.
No, bro. This is gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah. This is punk rock with classic rock. That's exactly what all of this stuff is.
All right. Well, there's no punk rock in this. Full stop. Cool. There's zero punk in this music. So just okay. So I know they all come from punk rock backgrounds, and I do think there's some classic rock. But there is a couple of things that you said that I agree on. It's just these I think the major points we're probably not going to see eye to eye.
Here's the thing, though. I always just don't care about that question. You know what I mean?
No.
And I'm not saying to be antagonistic. I'm just saying, I'm always going to kind of say yes to that question if I'm talking about it with you. Like, I don't really.
Oh, that's true.
That's what I'm saying with that question.
Well, no, I mean, the reason that the question is what the reason that question exists specifically on this podcast is to get a good conversation going.
Yeah.
Again, I also don't really care if it's
but I'm thinking I'm trying to think like when I ever answer no to that question is kind of what I'm thinking. Okay. Like because My Chemical Romance pushes it almost as far as you would to think of that, but I still don't quite cross that. Like to me, like it's still not like what like the Panic at the Disco and that kind of stuff is. Where that's to me that is something completely different. Like this may you may consider this something completely different, but I think this is more rooted in that.
I have a two-pronged response to that. One is that I would never ask that of a band that had zero people saying that it is. If there was nobody on the planet that said it was punk, then I wouldn't have asked, because that's the whole point, is that we take things that are like punk adjacent and go, is this punk? Because it's just a conversation starter, right? It's just a topic. It's a attention-grabbing headline to put on a YouTube.
Are people saying that about My Chemical Romance? So that's and I've always like.
I'm certain there are people that are saying it's punk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, they took so much shit like when they came out.
Go Google right now. Go Google punk rock albums from 2004, and I guarantee you it's in the top 5.
Sure, because like it would.
That's my point.
Yeah, but that
doesn't mean that it is punk.
But who's doing that kind of category? Like who's doing that kind of categorization though? You know what I mean?
The general public, the kind of people that might watch a video like this, and like not, dude. I guarantee you that real punk rock fans, people that do the stuff that I do specifically, are going to agree with what I'm fixing to say about this album. There is absolutely zero punk rock in this album. There was maybe a handful of riffs that I could consider punk rock in this album.
But again, I don't think anyone ever claimed that they were punk rock. That's what I'm saying. Like no one with any credibility has ever claimed them to be punk rock.
I'm disagreeing. I'm saying that people do think that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially people from a younger generation. You can't tell me that people would listen to something like
sure, but nothing they consider punk rock, you also would. That's my point to that, though, too.
Yeah,
nothing they consider like so. What definition are we going over though on that too? You know what I mean? Like that, I don't know.
There is no definition. Just because I wouldn't agree with the people that would say this doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be talked about. It doesn't mean that it couldn't be a fun conversation. It doesn't mean that we should talk about it.
And we're having it. I'm just
But my point is that who cares about all that? Like you're asking the wrong questions. The question, that's not the question. The question is what do we think?
Mm-hmm.
Not what do those people think and do I agree with them or not? Because I don't. No, I don't agree with them. Of course I don't. People that say, but those people might be interested in hearing our perspective. They might want to argue with us in the comments. This is a conversation for everybody to take part in. You and I are just the ones that are hosting it and then putting it up on YouTube, and the people will almost certainly disagree with me in the comments, and then and we'll just go.
But what I would say about those people, and I'm not really even disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is, do you think those people who would say that this is punk rock actually care about punk rock? Like care about punk rock as something that means or matters? So that's why it's thought of as punk rock, because it's kind of like shorthand.
That doesn't have nothing to do with it, though. That doesn't have nothing to do with it.
No, but I've never heard of like My Chemical Romance being needing to be, because they've always been sort of the outcast of the whole situation. Like I've never noted them to
Right.
be like people like defending them as punk. Like people would defend them as a
Well,
band, but I
so
didn't know that was a thing. Is what I'm saying. Like with My
yeah,
Chemical Romance.
I have personally heard people describe, I like punk bands, and I go, oh, what bands? And I have heard the name My Chemical Romance come out of a number of mouths. That doesn't mean that they're correct, but
Mhm.
that means that that's what they think. I've also had people tell me that NASCAR Aloe is punk rock. Many, 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 many people have told me that. Do you know who NASCAR Aloe is?
No, that sounds.
It's absolute trash, bro. It is not punk rock. He's like this rapper kid that has spiky hair and likes some punk bands. So people go, he's punk rock. Finn McKenty will tell you that Suicide Boys are punk rock. I guarantee you he would probably consider My Chemical Romance some iteration of punk rock. That's kind of my point, is that I'm the guy that's going to gatekeep punk rock right now and be like, nah, I don't think so, bro. And then I'm going to also tell you how much I don't like Dan Frampton. So I'm over here contradicting the shit out of myself. But it's just for a fun conversation, because you and I usually agree like 80%. And I think this one might be one that's going to be a weird
I don't even think we're
topic.
disagreeing. I just didn't know.
No, we're not really disagreeing.
We're kind of disagreeing on the
I thought
terms
we
of the
might be.
conversation. I think is what we're disagreeing on.
Well, the conversation is simple. We just wanted to talk about a band that might get some people to look at the video, because this band, while you'd already answered my question as to why would I bring this band up, because all these dudes come from punk rock. That doesn't mean that it is a punk band, because you could have 6 dudes from punk rock history come together and form a boy band. It doesn't make it punk rock, but some people would argue that maybe it does. It's crazy.
Because like every member of the Foo Fighters comes from a like classic punk rock band, and no one would call the Foo Fighters reasonably punk rock. Obviously there's some influence, but no one would say that. I would say then the thing is, we got to go back then to our episode a couple of weeks ago to kind of tie what we're talking about. The genre's Warped Tour. If you want to do that, that is what people.
What got me thinking about it last week.
That's what people are referring to. If that person who says, "Yeah, I'm into," like,
correct,
doesn't. But to me, like, it doesn't, like, if you are categorizing My Chemical Romance in your list around a bunch of other punk bands, it would stand out maybe, or like bands that would be acceptable. Like I don't know what I would have to hear next to it for it to really be like, oh, why did you include them on the list?
They would be like Green Day, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy. That would be their punk rock. Blink 182, because people tell me that Blink 182 is punk rock. That's the wildest shit I've ever heard.
But I think your definition of punk rock is so limited, though. That's the thing. Your definition of punk rock is so narrow.
How?
Like I don't know how you define punk. Like I don't understand it. Like how would you define, like what is what are those parameters if some of those bands aren't like, if they are not punk bands, or like, but is it like the music they put out currently? Like I don't get, that's why I don't get it as a question.
Well,
because I get it if it's indie versus major, like that. I get.
Well, you're asking me to give you like a hard black line as to what is punk rock, and that doesn't exist.
Right.
But I can tell you when I hear something that is not punk rock. I can absolutely tell you that. I can also tell you when I hear something that is punk rock. Blink 182 does not qualify as punk rock. They never have. They just haven't. Green Day used to, don't any longer.
Again, I don't know what we're talking about then. If Blink 182 has never been punk rock, like I don't know what terms we're setting. What is that line then? And please show me the line if they were never a punk rock band. Like I don't buy that.
I mean, you don't have to. You're allowed to have your own opinion.
Okay, but I just don't. But then I don't know what we're defining as punk. Then that's what I'm trying to like figure out.
No, dude. Are you not under the impression that punk is a little bit different for everybody?
Sure.
Listen.
But then why is there a line if it's
Because what do you mean? Why is there a line? There really isn't. We're just having a conversation. We're just talking about music. We're talking about my definition versus maybe somebody else's. Maybe yours versus mine. Maybe ours versus theirs. Maybe whatever. It's just a conversation. It's just for entertainment. It isn't that serious. Is my whole point. People will get really upset in the comments when I say like The Offspring. Do you consider Smash a punk rock album? I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got told nonstop how trash that album is, and it's not punk at all. I disagree with that, but I didn't get offended by it. I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, cool. I don't care. But it is a fun time. It is fun to talk about, especially with a friend of mine. Yeah. So, when it's celebrating a substantial anniversary, and it is, I've always said that this channel will cover anything that is punk rock and punk rock adjacent. And if nothing else, this is punk rock adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Since it is coming from punk rock
But,
guys.
yeah,
It
nobody
is-
would disagree with that. Nobody would disagree
correct.
with that.
And so
Right.
that's my avenue to getting this on my channel, is that I've never claimed I wouldn't talk about an emo band or a hardcore band or
Right.
a metal band if I
And you
wanted
have,
to.
yeah.
Correct. So you know, more or less, I wanted to just give this album some attention. Really, is because it's hitting a substantial date, and I do think that there's enough people that watch this channel that like this band that they would appreciate us covering it. It's
Right.
more or less what I was doing.
Right.
Now, is it punk rock? Literally, is just to make an argument happen. That's
Right.
all I wanted to do.
Right. And I'm
And it
not
worked.
questioning us talking about this album at all. Like, I think it's very
Yeah, well, I'm
appropriate.
saying like
yeah.
in general, when I say is it punk rock, the answer is whatever you want the answer to be every single time. I don't have now. I will often say yes or no, hard stop, fight me about this. That's because all I want is a conversation, bro. It's
Right.
not because I actually want somebody to be angry about it. People do get angry about it, and they would get angry about it no matter how I said it. So
Right. And for the record, I'm not angry about it.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is just, I think we're just answering a lot of questions before they get asked in the comments, probably. So
yeah, sure.
you know, no, the album's not punk rock. No, they're not punk rock, dude. They're trying to be rock stars, bro, and nothing wrong with that either. Here's another thing: is when you say something is or isn't something, that doesn't mean you're declaring that it is or isn't bad or lame or you do or don't like it. If I
Right.
say, you know, Green Day isn't a punk band anymore, that doesn't mean Green Day isn't a punk band anymore, comma, and they suck now. That is not what I said. I just made an observation. I just said that, you know, Blink-182 was never a punk rock band. I don't know how anybody could listen to them at any point in their career and go, yeah, punk rock. Like maybe pop punk for sure. Okay. But even the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, not even that, you know, but that's my definition of it. You know, I would imagine some people would say that 2003 Blink-182 album is a punk rock album. Well, those people probably would never listen to this or any number of the tapes and shit that I have laying around my office, because my definition of punk might be a little different from theirs. And that doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm wrong either, though. And you know, I'm older, so I'm going to have a different definition than somebody 20 years old too, probably, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
so all this is really is a gateway for conversation. And even though I don't think that this album is punk at all, I do have a certain amount of appreciation for it. I do think that people will get to bands like Rancid. This is another example of like me covering a group that would fall into the same category, in my opinion, as like an MGK thing, without having to talk about that guy. I'd rather talk about MCR because I have a lot of respect for what they do, and I think that they're fantastic musicians. So I do think that you can get from that band all the way to something like the US Bombs. It wouldn't take that long. And so for that reason, I do have appreciation for the group. And I mean, I do sell their records. I would probably go see them live if I could afford it. They probably put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning because I was preparing for this conversation. I did see him live. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I saw him on a Warped Tour in 2005. And again, it was crazy. They were like the biggest band in the world. So as
That's
I said,
so wild.
all the like the middle school age, like they were all probably teenagers, but I felt like a young adult, you know, being like 18 or, you know, like these were not these were just not my peers, you know what I mean? And I would like, not that there wasn't people my age that were seeing them too, but it was just like a bunch of like younger kids. And then they all left as soon as their set was over. Like they were on the main stage, but they weren't the headliner. And so it also speaks though to, I think part of the power that the band had early on is they were such a chameleon in kind of what we're talking about in the way they sound.
Right.
That
Yeah,
they toured
they
with,
weave in and out of things.
they toured with everyone, and it was very like no one minded having them as your opening band because they kind of fit whatever bill. You know, if you were Thursday, you didn't mind having them as your opening band. If you came through and you were more of a skate punk band, they still, it was not just completely out of place to have them on there. They really were that type of chameleon. So I really helped them build up their following. Kind of what we're talking about there is the eclectic mix of. That's why what you said too about the punk rock question. I said it's really hard because. Well, I think that's a core of what they do. Even the individual members are so different in what they bring to the band. They're not like, I don't know what's the word, like, homogeneous or something. We're all doing the same thing. They're a very, I guess, eclectic is what is the best way to sort of define the band, which makes them difficult to pin them on genres. Like they hated being called emo back in the day. They disdained that term.
Well, they can disdain it all they want, but you know,
I think theirs is a flavor of emo to kind of clarify.
Well, yeah, but I mean. The flavor of emo is still emo, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, go to our punk conversation we just had a minute ago too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, would there be people that call them not emo band? Yeah. Would they say that? Yeah. Who knows? But the fact is that this is a very blurry line, and I'm not arrogant enough to think that I have any authority in any of these subjects. I don't. Now, will I stand on my opinion on it? Yes, I will. But I don't. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I want people to feel included to a specific degree. And something I forgot to mention is that the reason that I brought this up is because in my head, when I said My Chemical Romance, bro, I'm not joking, man. In my head, I thought, man, last time I heard this, I think I really felt like this could fit into maybe a punk rock section of my records at my store. And that's what I was thinking, right? And but I haven't heard it. I never listened to this band like that. So I haven't heard this album in forever. So I was expecting, honestly, dude, this is so crazy. I was absolutely expecting to be like, yeah, kinda. And then I listened to it twice and I was like, huh, what do I remember then? So I went back to their first album and listened to like half of it. And I was like, oh, I think I'll remember this album and not Three Cheers. Yeah. Because that one has a lot more in common with stuff I would consider punk or pop punk, even mostly pop punk. But yeah, I mean the album is high quality. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the fact that all of this is a blurry line makes for conversations like this, I think, to be pretty entertaining.
I think they are those specifically they're a little bit different than a lot of these other bands we can do. And part of that blurry line is like, we talked about the Ramones a couple of weeks ago. I think My Chemical Romance are their own like Ramones type of thing. Like they are sort of the Big Bang event that all this other stuff comes off of. So whatever they do defined whatever that stuff was.
Right.
Because they're a band that's a lot more that like when you talk about the discourse around them is defined by a lot of their imitators, and that becomes to define them, or their fans, because they got so big. So like part of why I said like they hated the term emo because they didn't really feel like that was what they were doing. They were thinking of it in more like literal terms, and they didn't like really being painted with that brush because they didn't even feel like that's what it was.
Well,
that they were really up to it. But then emo became whatever My Chemical Romance did.
Right.
That became the definition of what
it
emo
really
was.
No, it really did.
It subsumed everything, where old pop punk even got labeled as emo, even if it didn't really sound like it. And so that generation you're talking about, emo is a dirty word to people who didn't like it, but the people who are into it, emo is not really a dirty word, but they'll say stuff that you and I like that we would never consider emo. They'll just say like, oh, that sounds emo. And like they were the band that's responsible for emo becoming a synonym of alternative, I think. And people sort of like getting all that confused. Yeah.
They were a huge, very important band. And I think it's interesting, man. It's one of those things where when somebody goes, well, they said that they weren't emo, and I go, it doesn't matter what they say. It's just like if I painted a picture and then I gave it to you and you went, oh man, I see a butterfly in this. And then I went, oh no, that's actually a storm that I painted. They would like, no, it's a butterfly. That's what I see when I look at it. How am I going to tell them that they're wrong? I cannot do that because it's not wrong. It's what they see. And so when I hear a band, if I want to call it, emo, if I want to call it punk, I guess I can. I mean, if somebody hears, I mean, I've been okay, dude. When I've told people that I listen to punk in the past, this has happened more than one time. I don't know how many times, but more than once, or I wouldn't have remembered it. But it blew my mind. People said, "Oh, like Slipknot." Like, bro, people think of punk rock as all kinds of stuff, man.
But that to me though, the difference in that, because I've got that before. So someone told me they were into punk because they were into Rob Zombie, and I was like, wait, what? And that's
wild.
I think those people are just completely misinformed. Like they have no, like, to them, punk is also shorthand for just alternative. You know what I mean? Those people I don't think are thinking too deeply.
Like, oh, Rob Zombie likes the Ramones, so I like punk rock. You're like,
I don't even think it goes to that level of thinking. I just think like they just conflate like hard rock and heavy metal even as.
Oh, possibly
as punk. That's what I mean. I think that's a little bit where
the 90s fucked all this up, dude.
Well, and that's perfect. That is actually what I was thinking this morning about the fusion. Is when we think of fusion, we think of the late 90s, or the early 90s, the middle. We think of all these things, even Suicidal Tendencies, the new metal, all this stuff. This stuff is also that. It's just like smoother. The combinations are just blended into being its own thing. Whereas like literally it was even uncreative. We called it rap rock, right? We're just combining two things. We're not actually creating something new, which is not true. Cause I think like bands like Slipknot and System of a Down, they had like hip hop beats sort of within their but their full metallic thing. But a band like Limp Bizkit was literally, or Crazy Town was just combining heavy metal and hip hop. I think by the time you get to the 2000s, it's just a little more artfully done with bands like My Chemical Romance. And even nowadays, I see like genres not being, what they were. They don't hold the same sort of like every band kind of does every genre. Have you noticed? Like they just kind of do different things and they go on things, and it's not as protected. And so the fans aren't always as like protective. I've noticed of this or that the way we were. I just don't feel that.
I have to respond to that because you've said that to me a number of times since we've been doing the show, and I've never understood that because I don't have that experience. And then it occurred to me why. I don't listen to bands that do that. Like I just don't. I listen to punk rock bands. Like I'm kind of a boring individual if you want to get down to like brass tacks about it, bro. Like I stay in my lane. I like what I like, and I mean, like the punk that I listen to right now, I'm listening to a lot of French. Like it gets so stupid because it's like French thug wave, post punk, dark wave. Like it's punk. It's a punk band.
Yeah.
But there's these other little things in it. So maybe I do. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. That is a large possibility. Okay. Look, folks. Look, guys.
What a revelation,
dude. You know,
that's hilarious. Like, oh my god, the music starts playing. Okay, guys, we're done. We're done. He doesn't know anything.
Well, what's crazy is that if people hear me say that and don't, if they react in any kind of way, then they just either are new to the channel or they just simply don't listen. I have been very open with the fact that I don't know, man. I'm just talking about my opinion. If you like now, if I look something up and can give you a date and like a run time, and okay, well, those are facts. But like speaking subjectively, bro, I don't. It's fucking up to you, man. Like what you like, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be so what's the word? Like worried about what people insecure. Don't be so insecure, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you like MCR, but your favorite band in the world is Hatebreed. There's nothing wrong with that, dude. Like my favorite band is Rancid, and I legitimately listen to Lady Gaga. Like, who cares, dude? Like, if you got a problem with that, good. Let me know so that I can know that you're the asshole I don't want to talk to. Like, that's cool. Good. Thank you. So, I mean, I go to a lot of eclectic things and see a lot of eclectic bands. I just went and saw Sister Wife Sex Strike. Bro, I've never been around that many transgender people in my life in one space. And it was amazing.
To the underground is different. Like it even trips me out over here. Like when I go hang out with like local bands and stuff, like they all know each other and they're all friends, but it's a completely different crowd for bands that are kind of labeled together in these different groups. And it kind of makes no sense. Like, cause to me, it's like a lot of it's not that different, but in the underground it is like, you know that video series that people have been doing for like the last maybe year and a half where they go, whatever, iceberg explained. Iceberg, yeah.
So I would say that I fall somewhere way down deep. And I would say that you're probably one rung above me, but we're way below the surface, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, so what I would consider punk, while I don't have an authority on it, has a pretty specific definition. So, you know, I even go as far as to say stuff like the Ramones are a pop punk band. Green Day is a pop punk band. Blink-182 used to do pop punk. Like, because to me, that's what that is. It's pop punk. Doesn't mean it's bad or good. It just means it is that. And people also get offended by those things. They go, oh, well, he said it was pop punk. Yeah, I didn't say it was bad. I just said that's what I thought it was. You know, and folks just get in their feelings because we like to protect the things that we love. And we could go down this rabbit hole for hours. But the fact remains is that what I'm really asking is this album good? Is it something that you listen to? What did you like it? Like, did you listen to it at all? I listened to it a couple of times. I got some notes on all the songs. It wouldn't take me very long to read them all because I just jotted down a couple of words. But yeah, you know, I actually
owned I owned this album when it came out. Like in the in the first run. You know what I mean? And
okay. Sorry.
Continue. No, and I would say like for me it was funny because like I had seen My Chemical Romance on the early Warped Tour. I wanted to say so like I was like aware and I knew them as the Used Friends. That's how I knew them. They were the Used Friends. And the reason why I got the album is I didn't really like hang with that crowd really either. But like it was literally at a Walmart, so it's like I kind of know them. So I bought the album and I really liked. And then I was 04, 17, 18. Anytime you had a girl in your vehicle, they weren't necessarily into the Casualties, but they all knew the My Chemical Romance song. So that kind of grew a little bit, you know.
Well, that's another example of like the gateway to getting you from the MCR down to US Bombs is that you can have a girlfriend that likes that stuff, but then all of a sudden she's listening to Rancid with you. Then all of a sudden she's listening to Dwayne Peters. Mm. And that doesn't surprise me at all. And that's another reason why this stuff is really valuable. And I think that it's a good thing to have it. That line can be as blurry as people want it to be. I am not going to be offended by somebody saying that they think it's a punk album or if they think it's not. I might argue in the comments about it, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be like, what's up, dude? If I see you, like, I'm not. I think people mistake this world, like this YouTube world, as like, I don't know, man, like a thing that like, I don't know, people. It's weird, bro. This is a weird thing that we do, but
For sure.
yeah, the MCRs is an interesting group, but like you said something earlier. You've mentioned the Used and Thursday in this conversation, and those are the kind of bands that I've never really listened to, but they've always been like, I've had friends that liked all of those bands to some degree. Now they didn't necessarily like all of them together, but like I had a friend that liked Thursday a lot. I had a friend that liked MCR. I had a friend that liked the Used a lot. I had a friend that liked Fall Out Boy a lot. Newfound Glory was the one that I started to like. That it wasn't really considered a punk band. That I was still like, yeah, but they rule, man. The band's good, dude. So I think this is all just semantics, and we're all just voicing our opinions, and then we argue about it, and it's because we love it, man. We spend our time doing this because we love doing it. We love talking about it. MCR has my respect, but whether it sounds like they do or not is honestly, I don't really care. Because
here's the thing. I'm gonna throw a hot take. Let me make an ass of myself. I wish they never existed.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay. How come?
So I love all their music.
That was awesome.
No, this is true. Yeah, I love Black Parade. Great album. The song is great. This album, I had more than 1 or 2 sessions in my Ford, Ranger because of this album. First album was cool. They seem like cool guys. I got friends now that I connect with that are younger than me because they like this band. But I wish they never existed, because if they never existed, like, everything in my life wouldn't have sucked from like 2005 on, because it's exactly kind of what you're talking about, because this became the definition of the stuff I was into. And again, while I liked them, I didn't like everything else. And I'm exactly speaking to what you're talking about.
Welcome to Gatekeeper though.
Yeah. So like, again, because I was realizing like I really like this stuff, and I was looking at the song list. I like it, but if like I can go back in time, you know what I mean? If I could smother the creation of this album, like it didn't feed off it didn't create anything I actually liked after the fact. Just selfishly based on my age, everything good had already come out. Nothing else needed to be inspired. And even if it did, even like Teenage Bottle Rocket, who was younger, they already had NOFX. They didn't need My Chemical Romance, and there's nothing that My Chemical Romance made that could have ever inspired anything I liked. That's my selfish reason. I wish they never existed, but I absolutely love them.
Speaking of, okay, so I was trying to pause there so I didn't lose my thought, but I kept it. So, okay, people always ask me, why would you gatekeep something? Why would you talk like that? Why do you care? That right there is exactly why. What he said is exactly why. Because when we were younger, we liked XYZ, and somewhere along the line, a band like MCR or Green Day, or as far back as you want to go, man, somebody would say NOFX did this to their, UK 82 stuff.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere along the line, a band came out that was so big that it got the general audience into some of the top layer of the stuff that I liked. So that stuff started getting lumped in with everything that I loved. And we've put in years of our lives and thousands of our dollars and all of this time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, it's a little frustrating whenever the one thing you're like, okay, I could dig that, but everything, like Fall Out Boy, I don't like Fall Out Boy.
The stuff that isn't as good as this is like it wasn't worth the squeeze.
And so you have a bunch of kids that don't actually care, don't actually go to the shows. Like, okay, I'm not gonna say names because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I know a couple of people that they wear the shirts, they have the clothing looks good on them. They got the hair, they got the tattoos, they went and bought a bunch of patches and patched up their jackets and their pants, and and these people have told me that they go to shows a lot, and I'm like, that's awesome, man. And they were like, we really want to go hang out with you. And I was like, dude, I would love to hang out, man. And so I've invited these people to no less than 8 shows in the last year that were like, I knew that they would like the band. I knew that it was affordable. And we could all go hang out together, right? They've never shown up, right? And this is the same people that will be like, yeah, I love punk rock. And then you tell them like, oh, what's your favorite punk band? And they come with the ones like, they like the Circle Jerks, and they like they like Bad Religion, and and it's all surface layer stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that type of stuff creates the environment that calling Fall Out Boy would grow in, calling that band punk would grow in. So like that kind of person that doesn't actually go to the shows, they don't actually go and read the liner notes, they only buy their records from either, you know, a big outlet. Maybe it's a Hot Topic or something, but it is like a big major chain type place. They don't find the little, you know, like all my people at work that work at Alamo that come up and hang out with me at my store. Shout out to all of them because they come in and they buy records from me. So they get to see bands like these tapes that I was just showing you guys, man. Like all this stuff. They get to see this stuff. And I get to throw it everywhere.
No, they don't. If you drop it,
dude,
I
just
to see it.
Right in my hands. It was like, no, don't involve me. That was weird, bro. It like jumped out of my hands. But so like they you know, they get to see this stuff, so they get to hear about it, man. And like, but there's this group of people that like, if you just looked at them and you walked by them, you'd go, oh, they probably like punk rock. But as soon as you start talking to them, you're like, no, dude, they like the aesthetic, and they like a couple of punk bands, but they're normie dudes with dyed hair with a mohawk. They're for lack of a better word, they're fashion punks, dude. Like that's okay. Look, again, I am not saying it's good or bad. I am just making an observation. You do whatever you want to do. I don't care. Yeah. But that's what these conversations are for, is the people that go below the surface and go, man, we hang out down here in the muck. I sift through all this bullshit. It's like dudes that go out and sift through all that dirt and rock to get that little piece of gold. That's what we do. I sift through dozens of tapes every week to find the one band that I'm going to like. And then I go to their Bandcamp and I buy. Dude, this is the people that don't shop on Bandcamp, okay? They don't do that. They only listen to stuff on Spotify. They don't own a record player. That kind of people. That's cool, man.
And see, and it's for me, what the problem is too is like, and this happens with every form, everything. I'm so angry. I just said that the thing we're talking about I wish didn't exist, and then I said, and I really like the album, so I mean we're all over the place. But this is and what it is though too is because like, okay, nobody's gonna like everything, so anything that gets really big will also have a lot of hate to it generally. Yes. So, and that's really what it is. It's like, if this got so big that if you didn't like this, you thought you didn't like punk, or you thought old punk was exactly like this. And again,
it's insecurities, man.
That's not really a criticism on My Chemical Romance. It's just like, oh, because you don't like that means you assume all of this is this, or all of this is exactly this very specific thing. Because I think My Chemical Romance, while they ended up appealing to a huge audience because they got so big, their whole thing was a very niche audience, a very niche style of kid that they were kind of appealing to. Like they were niche, but they got so big that they're kind of a combination of niche and mass. So you get the hate, you get that sort of hatred. So again, I remember I was hearing an interview with some band, and like they wanted to make sure they didn't sound like My Chemical Romance because so many people hated but My Chemical Romance is not like a Limp Bizkit type band that they're like overwhelmingly hated. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just
like
enough
Nickelback.
People do. Yeah, but enough people do. Just like anything that is that big, that you don't want to. That's other people now not wanting to have that label on them because they don't want it to be exactly like that in case it feels some kind of way about this thing. So yeah, I'm okay with right before the first album's about to come out, I'm gonna go to the pressing plant in my time machine. I'm gonna smash all the records, and it's never gonna happen. And look, Green Day can have American Idiot, and all those people that still got into like emo and pop punk, they can still just do that off of American Idiot. Billy Joe, he's gonna sell more records, more red ties. The old aesthetic will be the same. We'll just do that in my retold version of history.
My MCR will be Green Day American Idiot, sir. I will be going back in time to destroy that. I hate that record. You know, I don't like that record.
Well, then, if that's the case, then we will fight on this battlefield.
Right. Well, then people are going to go back and destroy Rancid, and I'm going to cry. But this is where our age difference shows a little bit, because we don't really have that big of an age gap, especially the older we get. But when we're talking about like our prime, it is a little different. It's a slight. And this is literally mine. Like this would be mine. And so it's funny because like but it's not, because like when it really was a generation slightly younger, but my generation I feel like built it because we were kind of like you're like the middle of it though. You're like the middle of mine in this. Like that's where you guys hang out. My
generation is more accurately, I think, the pop punk generation. Like the last years when we were
like that
early to that would have been the time when I would have been in high school. I'm at the end of my high school. Again, I remember literally senior year. This was like the CD that everyone had at the parties and stuff like that. Like that is how I associate this of that sort of time. But their demographic was more like the middle school kids at that time. So the demographic then would have been like, think about it, in 1999, probably a high school senior probably has Enema of the State and thinks it's cool, but that's more marketed to people my age who are like in middle school at the time. Like it's more actually that's really the audience that it finds. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. But that it does make a difference in the perspective. So that's why like I've never really dismissed the music of My Chemical Romance, because like I got to hear a lot of it in very like real time. So like it's kind of like people like from the 80s that aren't really into maybe like new wave or whatever, but like they like the Cars, they like a lot of that 80s stuff. And it is almost a non-punk thing. It's more of like it was more of the pop music of your time. And so you heard a lot of it. And when I had to, if I'm going to be hanging in mixed company and it's between this or Fall Out Boy and Paramore, I am going for the My Chemical Romance. I got to say every time over that stuff.
That's a great example of what I'm talking about, man. If you look up punk bands, fucking Paramore gets brought up. Like, I can't think of a band that is less punk rock than Paramore. Well, yeah, I can. Nickelback. But, you know.
But there's no pretense of punk with Nickelback.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, it's all good. We've established our opinions on all this. Let me go over these songs real quick, and then we'll move on to NOFX, because I think that's what... It's crazy that we're doing 45 minutes on MCR though, without really it getting boring at all. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of amazing, and that it's not actually a punk band at all. Like, I don't think that they would consider themselves punk either. I would think that they're like a rock and roll band at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that was their ultimate aspiration. Again, but produced out of punk, like they came out of punk, and they really cared about being like an underground band. Like, so when they signed. They sort of sent off a then they were because everyone that signs, you know, you go through the thing where everyone hates you for that little period, but like they made a point like, oh, but we're playing every bar, every venue, every club. They wanted to build themselves as a punk, like they wanted to go kind of through that and get that kind of scar tissue, and they didn't really need to as much. They didn't really have to pay as many dues as they really did. Eventually, it became unsustainable. Like at one point, they were touring with Senses Fail, and
MCR.
Yeah, and MCR was the opening band, and Senses Fail, like it was so dejecting for them because they had like a big time record that was doing well, and the venue would be so full, and then everyone would leave. Like they got the monetary benefit off it, but like they were touring like in punk tours when it became too big even for them to do it, and they hung on to that a little bit longer until really after the fact. I would say once they hit the turning point of big, and then they just kind of like became like a huge rock band. Like I really started to think of them really as a huge rock band. And then they pieced out too. They pieced out relatively early. So that kind of helped keep that like mythology of them and even the return to be so big.
Look, when they did the Black Parade, they were being compared to Queen. I mean, that's wild, bro. That's wild. So, okay, I want to go through this real quick. I want to just read this basically. If you want to stop me, just be like, sir, I need to talk. And then we'll move on to the next subject of the podcast. So 3 cheers for Sweet Revenge. I don't remember. Did I pull up how many songs is on this?
There's 13.
Is it 13 songs? How long is the album? Do you know?
39, 36.
So about 40 minutes, 13 songs. That's actually a pretty good length of average song length. So we've got Helena. I put the first song I remember hearing by the band. I used to hate this song. It's okay though. Definitely memorable, but not at all punk rock. And then I put, I wonder what I was thinking here. And then I used to think it was 30 Seconds to Mars when I first heard it, and I hate that band. I absolutely hate that band.
I'm another band that people. I co-sign it. I hate 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, dude. And then we got Give 'Em Hell Kid. Much better song. Heavier, but still melodic. It's obvious the guys in the band like some punk, but this song is more of a hard rock song in my opinion. And so like I'm definitely mirroring what you're saying in my notes. So and then we go to the next song, To the End. Some serious Fall Out Boy vibes. Super catchy, decent enough song. The album is objectively good. I even kind of like some of it. It's just not for me, I don't think. The lead guitar work on this one is really good. It's a plus. And then you put, You Know What They Do. What is that song called?
You know what they do to guys like us in prison?
That's right. Reminds me of the Drama Students' Super Theatric. Again, I recognize how good it is. I just don't care for it. There's like parts of it I like, but not really whole songs. I feel like it'd be a good live energy. I feel like it'd be very good live. Real high energy, excuse me.
Yeah,
and, again, I think this is a band that you would want to see live. You know?
And a lot of these, so there's two main themes on this album. There is the death
eyeliner and black hair.
Yes, there is the. So I should say MCR. The whole thing, the little bit of the origin story, real quick, is part of it is Gerard Way, their lead singer. He's actually a cartoonist. That was like what he was kind of doing by trade.
So.
And he had like a
conversation.
Yeah, he had a Cartoon Network show.
He's awesome
in development, and it was actually 9/11 that inspired him and his brother to start the band. If he
Oh,
just
wow.
he felt like the cartoon thing, like what difference are you going to make? What passion are you going to have? It was just like very emotional time. So him and
That's
his brother,
crazy.
that was really like what got them going. And then their grandmother passed away while they were recording this album. So that's what the song Helena is
man.
about. So half the songs are really, they said it's kind of a concept album of like a tribute to their grandmother. And then the rest of it is sort of like old Western fight where these two lovers kill each other in the passion. And a lot of these songs, that's what you got to be thinking, have that sort of like old gunfighter kind of feel to them, that theme that's sort of woven. So those are the two things, the death of the grandmother and then this like this story of these two lovers that end up kind of killing each other is sort of how it the stories that are woven in throughout the album.
I just remembered why I started listening to this band later in life, and I'm so glad that you said that because you triggered a memory on me. When I owned my comic book shop, I was reading Doom Patrol, which is what he created, Gerard Way. It's a DC comic, I think, but they did a TV show for it and everything, and that is what got me to go buy their records because I was reading it and I was like, man, this is really good, and I wasn't paying attention to who was writing it. And somebody goes, oh, I love that, man. I'm a huge MCR fan. And I was like, what the hell does that have to do with this comic book? And then it just kind of clicked. Oh, wait, Gerard Way, like the guy that's in that band. I was like, oh my goodness, is that the same guy? I looked it up. Sure enough, it was. So I was trying to figure out what made me think of them 6, 7, 8 years ago. That's what it was that comic book. The next song on the album is I'm Not Okay. That was a pretty big song, man. And I put this one I like. This is one that I like. I don't even know why, to be honest. The chorus is very pop punk influenced. I don't love it, but it's solid. I see how this band appeals to a larger audience than, say, something like Rancid or even Newfound Glory. I think that's very obvious why this band would appeal to more people, but that you can have a funnel and trickle down effect and you get to U.S. bombs. I'll stand behind that analogy every time.
The U.S. bombs. That's the funny end.
No,
point.
just that there's a trickle down effect from all this stuff, dude.
There is for sure, and
people told me in my street punk video that there's no way you can get from Green Day to street punk. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? In 3 steps you can.
Yeah, that one's not even that hard.
Thank you.
You're
Green
not
Day,
even,
Rancid, boom, there.
You're not even twisting yourself. Yeah, I'm Not Okay was huge. That was like the biggest song like in the world, right? Until like for me, and maybe because I only really listened to rock music, so it was like that was the biggest song in the world. And then Fall Out Boy had the Sugar We're Going Down, and that kind of took that over, and those were basically like the biggest pop hits to the point that like moms are picking up their kids from school and that's like the song on the radio on
that's the stuff that made
station.
Punk rock culture have a second boom because like you said, these guys are from that world, and so just because their music isn't, they are, and so other people from that world will start getting a little bit of rub, and it's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing. I mean, genre is weird in itself, really, if you want to think about it. These lines and stipulations that we give ourselves, it's kind of strange.
I always say they're more based on geography most of the time. If you really think about it, they tend to be more than they do sound. Like, yeah, and there's similarities in sound, but when you start breaking some of these bands, like, they just they almost sound like their areas sometimes, and I find that.
Well, Texas has its own rap, it's got its own punk, and it's got its own hardcore sound. We got a lot of different stuff because we're so big. Yeah, it just kind of naturally, happens. The next song was The Ghost of You. I put Nope. Sounds like a shitty Incubus song.
That was a huge song back in the day too.
Was it really?
That one was huge. It's got a video where they're all like in like Pearl Harbor and stuff. It's actually a kind of cool video.
Dude, my notes make me smile sometimes. It just says literally, "Nope." Sounds like a shitty Incubus song. A straight skipola. That is fun. The Jet Set Life is Gonna Kill You. Interesting intro. I kind of like this one. Yeah, this one's pretty good. It's got a great melody in the chorus. I liked it a lot. And then I put, I hate interludes.
You do.
And then I really do. I hate interludes. I hate intros and outros. I'm not into that stuff. But most people would disagree with that. The next song, Thank You for the Venom. Avenged a Cool Romance. Pretty fun song. This band just feels like they're doing too much. LOL. I need more simplistic, straightforward punk rock for my ears.
And I like Thank You for That's probably my favorite song on the album. If I would have to.
Oh, nice. Hang 'em High. I put good movie. Song, not so much. Second skip on the album for me.
Also has that Western vibe to that song throughout it.
Yeah. It's not a fashion statement. It's a death wish. These names, bro. Decent enough song, I guess. I hear a little bit of what my homie was doing in Phantom Pains in the vocals of this one. More yelling, but a lot of similarities. Otherwise, this band has had more in common with hardcore via screamo than anything punk rock, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's where I was going with all that, is that in my opinion, this band is more of a screamo emo band, which is an offshoot of hardcore. than like a pop punk band.
Yeah, well,
But
that's
they
like,
do
the
kind of
Used
toe the line.
Thursday. They were
Right.
they
Yeah.
were of that.
Yeah. And shout out
Tough.
to Phantom Paints, Daryl being like the first like tough guy that was willing to put on eyeliner and look pretty and beat the shit out of people. That guy he wore skinny jeans and tight t-shirts when it was not cool. And that guy would kick your ass, especially if you used gay slurs. He was not about that life, bro. He had a lot of gay friends and was not feeling that. He was like a hairdresser. He was awesome, bro. And he was such, dude, I was so jealous of that guy. He had every hot scene girl was like all about that guy.
All those things you just said also apply to My Chemical Romances. They were the band that brought in the like the LGBT
Facts.
people into punk rock. And,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And women and again your girlfriend and I remember them like they were the band that would stop the show whenever they would see someone harassing a girl. Like they were more than like that. They kind of got branded as like that white knight style, but they really
they
weren't
were woke.
like
they
that.
were like woke, but it wasn't cool yet.
They were just and that was just part of like their wanted to be straight, be like
that.
straight edge and be punk rock. That was kind of how they, again, kind of from hardcore scenes and that kind of thing. You see that straight line, but they translated it onto this like big scale where it's like the first time I had heard about them in years. I was in college and I was like 10 years older than everyone. And there was a young girl, we had to do a presentation on our favorite pieces of art, and hers was on My Chemical Romance. And I had no idea that they were big into the Tumblr community and the deviant art.
Oh, wow.
And all of that. They were just, and because I do remember I had my little sister-in-law, she would get onto the Tumblr with the fanfic about these guys and all.
Oh,
like,
that's crazy.
Like they were really big and like they were like kind of the girls who like that Twilight and that kind of stuff. They kind of fit with that whole sort of scene too, and that again way younger than us. You know, that's if we were liking that stuff in that time period, they'd have put us on a list or something. You know,
right? For sure, though, dude. We only got 2 songs left on the album. It was Cemetery Drive. I put, oh, nah, man. This one starts off really bad. Like, wow. Yeah, this song is terrible. Just awful. Oh, man. Sorry, anybody who loves that song. I just heard it and was turned off immediately.
I really like that song.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. I like the intro specifically.
I'll give it I'll give it another listen then.
If I put a note on it, I love the little drum intro and stuff.
Oh, man. Dude, hey, sometimes we just don't like the same stuff. Last song was Never Told You What I Do for a Living. And I put, okay, they're really dropping the ball on the B side of this album. The chorus is super catchy, though. Sounds like Buck Cherry almost, LOL. But this one is also really bad. Not sure what people would see in this album, if I'm honest. Songs are too long as well. And then I put, okay, I'm officially MCR fatigued. And then I put, oh, that's the end. Oh, shit, thank goodness. So, and then I put at the very bottom, I put, why is this band associated with punk rock even a little bit? And I think we talked about that plenty. We don't need to go back into that. But I think at the end of the day, I would say that MCR is not punk rock. They're not even a little bit punk rock. That album is not punk rock. And that's perfectly fine. But I would say objectively, the album is incredibly well made. Very, very good performances, just not my particular flavor. So take that how you want. I think objectively it's a very high grade. Personally, I think it's probably somewhere in like the 6.5, 7 out of 10 for me. Maybe even, probably 6.5. Nothing. I don't want to be like, oh, it's a 2 out of 10. That's not true. But it's like, if it came on in a car somewhere and I was with people I didn't know, I wouldn't turn it off, but I wouldn't choose to listen to it either. It's one of those kind of records.
See, and I'm thinking about it now. I'm regretting my statement about them not wanting to exist because I've had so many other good talking about these songs. Like, but I also, I kind of made my bones on this music.
No, you were just hot under the collar, bro. You were having a passionate moment. You're allowed to have those.
But on balance, like, were those good times worth what it brought? I don't know. It's an existential question I'm facing now. Now I'm conflicted.
Right. Well, we did a full hour on My Chemical Romance, so let's just stop. Let's just stop right now.
Okay.
And let's pivot over to NOFX.
What a contrast.
Because I'm telling you, bro, seriously, what a weird episode this is. But okay, so over the weekend, I got to go see the last NOFX show in Texas, in Fort Worth at Panther Pavilion. I put the whole set up on my channel. If anybody wants to go watch it, it's there. Please go check that out and enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. They did a really good job. I don't know how to. I don't want to like spoil stuff, but I guess I will just say it. They played The Decline, and I didn't think they were going to.
Oh, of course they did it at your show.
Yeah, it was the closer. It was their encore. It was the closer. Yeah. They came back out. They went, took a 5-minute pisser break, came back out, played my 2 favorite NOFX songs. It was crazy because they didn't play my 2 favorite songs, and I couldn't believe it. No, sorry. The last 2 songs were my favorite 2. They played Green Corn and Separation Church and Skate. And I lost my fucking mind when they played those songs, dude. And when Fat Mike got up on stage and was like, I think this is the best NoFX song, and he played Separation, which is my favorite of all time by them. Anyways, the point of this part of the video is that I didn't know they were going to play The Decline, but I think it's cool that they played it because we're talking about it, and it wasn't planned like that. I think that's pretty neat that something like that can organically happen. But so yeah, go check out that stuff. Go check out. I did a little live stream. It's still up on my channel with my merch haul. I got a bunch of stuff while I was there. I hung out with Elvis from Left Alone. I got to hang out with the dudes from Codefendants, and I went and saw Cheshky the next night, who's in Codefendants, and hung out with him for I hung out with that guy for a long time, dude. That guy's rad. I mean, he's done the podcast, so he kind of knew me a little bit from that. So shout out Cheshky. Shout out Codefendants. Shout out Sister Wife Sex Strike, dude. Go listen to that if you like folk punk, dude. They're like the next wave of that stuff, dude. Them at Eights of the State. So good. Okay, The Decline. Let's talk about it. Sorry. So I've always had this like weird relationship with this EP because it came out at a time when I was heavily into this band. And so I was extremely excited to see a new release coming out. I don't know why I said 2004 earlier. I knew it was the 90s because it was when I was in high school. I'm an idiot, bro. So when it came out, it was a very similar experience to Rancid 2000, although it was like a year before that. Maybe that's why I had such an anger. Oh, dude, we got to talk 2000 in a few minutes, bro. I'm gonna blow your mind with this. It's my favorite album now. I'm kidding. Not even close. Dude, that would probably your head might pop.
Yeah. What a night.
So no, I have a cool video that I'm gonna make about it. You're gonna like it. So The Decline is what, like 18 and a half minutes? It's one song, quote unquote. My issue with it is that I never understood why they wanted to make this one long song. And especially when you're doing it on a CD, I couldn't listen to the separate parts of it. I hated that. I don't think it's one song. And I have evidence as to why. I got notes on this thing, man. I listened to it 3 times. No, 4. Twice. Once on the way to Dallas. No, I'm sorry. Once before I even went to Dallas. Once on the way to Dallas. And then twice since I've been home to do notes on it. I wanted to listen to it a couple of times just to listen to it. But yeah, man, what is your just immediate thoughts of an opinion on NoFX The Decline?
So I've always really liked it, but not ever really given it as much of the time of the day as a lot of NoFX fans do. Like, I agree, it's kind of a masterpiece. I think it's the thing that Fat Mike feels most proud that he's done in NoFX. And I can see why that is. And it was one of the first NoFX things I ever got. Like, that was right when I was kind of coming online. So it was like Pump Up the Volume. 99, huh? Yeah, Pump Up the Volume and this and the 46 song. That was all kind of right around that same time. So I kind of heard all of this right at the same time. And I think there's like a problem actually with the arranging of it. Cause I'm thinking of like, of other stuff that I like. Cause like going back to Green Day, like my favorite Green Day song of all time is Jesus of Suburbia, a 9-minute song, which is similarly cobbled together bits kind of other songs. And I think that just like goes together a lot better. There's like parts of this where I am bored, although I like each individual part, but I do get bored with it. And what I think it is
that's one of my main gripes.
If you cut out any one of these, like the sub songs, they would fit fine on any NoFX record, may even be one of the good songs on a NoFX record. But part of the NoFX experience is hearing one of these mixed in with Separation of Church and State, mixed in with Liza and Louise. And I think you never kind of get that sort of, that there's a lot of like dark humor in the songs. And so I don't think any one of those individual songs are necessarily bad. I don't find it as interesting of a full listening experience. I kind of like the bits and pieces, kind of similar to you. It's one of the, I find myself just not thinking about a lot, although it's very important to as a big NoFX fan. I've always found that kind of funny that I just don't connect with that quite as much as all the weird random other stuff I do with that band.
I don't know much about Fat Mike's opinion on this or whatever, so I don't know if he really thinks this is his masterpiece. I would humbly disagree with that. I used to think that maybe you could consider this their Life Won't Wait or their whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever album you want to compare this with. I just don't, man. I understand that people think it's really good. I know that playing this live would be just an incredibly hard thing to do. There are parts about this that I really, really like. Let me be very clear. Let me start off with that. There are parts of this that are top tier NoFX, top tier punk rock, namely the lyrical content.
Yeah.
But But what you said earlier is absolutely correct. It is stuff cobbled together, man. This sounds to me like a bunch of songs that he couldn't finish and wanted to release something. So I think that if he does consider this a masterpiece, and this is the thing he's the most proud of, that is a thing that happened in hindsight. Because there's no way that you can convince me that when this came out.
Oh, he's been saying it since then.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
like
crazy.
he went in with the intention of, I want to do my Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow.
I want to make my masterpiece.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
that was the intent. What not to say it wasn't cobbled together songs. Like I'm not saying, and there, I don't have a ton of insight on the actual creation of it because
I don't think it was lazy. That's not what I'm saying. Let me be clear again. I'm not saying it's lazy. I just think it was like a bunch of pieces that he couldn't complete and was like, oh, well, I'll make one big, great, amazing song out of it.
And that might have been the ultimate of where he like realized he had the material for it. But like he really wanted to make, like, that's why he's so proud of it. Cause I think he sees it, and again, I think you and I probably have the minority opinion on this. I think a lot of NOFX fans really value the decline. Like every time I post a NOFX video, people put different like little lyrics from this song in there and all that.
Okay.
I do think it's interesting that people like to claim that 2003 is when NOFX went political, when they literally had an 18-minute political song.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like 4 years earlier.
And there's politics on every one of their albums. But again, and that's what I think is kind of the issue. There's not that contrast isn't quite there. That's why I find myself less appealed of like having that experience. The experience isn't quite as fun, although I think it's very good, but it's just not. It's not quite as enjoyable, and I like to enjoy NOFX. Like I go to NOFX for different stuff. I guess might be
right.
Part of
it. Well,
I
think I'm going to. I think I'm probably going to upset some people because, like, first off, I have an opinion that is oftentimes like left of center. Like people don't. I don't have even within my own culture of people. I don't have the opinion that everybody else seems to have. I don't know why that is. I'm just always been kind of a weird person, even within my own bubble of weird people. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being called lame, whatever. It doesn't matter to me, man. It's fine. But it's weird that I often have like the exception, not the rule, as my opinion. But none of this stuff is compelling. Like none of it. Okay, how do I say this right? That's not really what I mean. None of this. If you pull out I have written down 9 different sections that create different songs. Okay, I'm going to go over this in just a minute. Mm-hmm. But not one of those parts were in its own exemplary, in my opinion. The lyrical content would be really good, but then I wouldn't care for the way that they did the music. Or the music was really, really well done, but the lyrics weren't so great in that part. Or the production was really good, but I wasn't really sure I liked the melody of it very much. So, like, nowhere, and that might just be because I just don't like it. There doesn't have to be a reason. I may just not like it, right? That's okay too. My opinion on whether or not it's good or bad, I think objectively I guess it's pretty good. I don't think it's, a 10. I think objectively it's a pretty big feat. I think it's something to be proud of. I think that I don't know. I think they could have done better, honestly. And I think that if they had made it because like, dude, you can't put any of this on a mixtape. You can't put even on a playlist. That matters, dude. It does. Whether people want to agree with that or not, like, there's a reason why it matters to me.
I was saying, but this sold a ton. Like, this did very well.
Sure. No, whether it's, dude, look, man, a lot of shitty music sells a lot. And I'm not saying this is shitty music. I'm just saying sales don't make the difference to me because, dude, look at all the shit on the radio. How much of that do we call garbage? And it sells tons. So that doesn't mean anything.
And my point was that wasn't a deterrent though to like.
Gotcha.
Like, and in fact, I think
misunderstood.
Yeah, I think people really liked it on physical media because of how physical media was. You could never release this now. Like the Spotify attention spans that we have now, you just never. This could never come.
I do think it would be funny if they put this out on a 10-inch record, though. I would have way more appreciation for it because it would have to be flipped over. And I think I would find an immense amount of pleasure in that joke. Like having to have this song stop somewhere, preferably in the middle of like a bar.
Did they never do that? That feels very NOFX. Like that feels like something they would have done. I don't think they did, but I know
because then that would give this a whole nother meaning to me, and I would be like, oh, they're serious and still being themselves. I feel like this is a pretentious. That's what it is. Shit, that's what it is. I feel like this is pretentious, and I just never really vibe with that feeling very often. I don't.
And
whatever you want to call it.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think NoFX is very pretentious as a band. I
Sure,
think
for
that
sure.
is
Yeah,
that
there's
is
a
kind of
lot
their
of stuff.
vibe. That is very much
Yeah.
what their vibe is.
Yeah. They do a lot of
But
things. I'm wearing like 2 patches right now as I'm talking all this hot shit.
yeah, like that is kind of part of what NoFX it is like NoFX is always kind of smarter than you. They're always a little more like that is sort of what they, while also being
That's
dumber than
true.
you and lower class than you. They
Right.
sort of straddle both of those lines. I do think like to the point of like the politics writing, like they have a lot of songs that these are very similar to on Wolves and
Man,
on
lots.
War on Errorism, but I think like the versions of those though that they whipped into on those albums were just better given the full
Okay.
LP like treatment and all that, and the more like Doomsday stuff on this, I think they did better on like the later albums that I like. I think that stuff, like the more like epic sounding stuff, I think actually sounds better on their later albums than it does on the Decline.
I think that's a great point, and I think that maybe this EP, whatever you want to call it, I'll call it an EP. Maybe this EP was better in 1999 than it is in 2024.
Yeah,
because
so.
they've had stuff come out in later years that I would consider far better. And that's probably not a popular opinion, but I would imagine they've had such a long career. I think they have a lot of different factions of fans that like this era, this era, this era, this era.
Yeah, I'm like the only person I know that likes like their stuff from 2013 on. Like I think I'm the only person I've met that like.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's
like,
not really.
I don't. It's not my favorite stuff, but I really like connect with that stuff. And it's just again, when you've been around for 40 years, you're gonna have, and you've put out albums consistently. That's what you're gonna have. I will say, an experience to have with this that I wanted to make sure it was still on YouTube is there's the performance at Red Rocks with the orchestra that they do in the Decline. That is an amazing experience.
Oh, that's probably pretty cool.
And when you think about it, this song, it is more of, and I think it was included on the, Fat Mike was doing the Broadway musical a couple of years ago, but it got canceled because of the pandemic and stuff like that. This fits more of that because this is more of that. So when you see it with the orchestra setting in a literal kind of theater setting, the song and the emotions of it really resonate. I don't care if you don't know Siri. I know, and we're talking about it.
So, okay. I do want to comment on that, actually. So I do think that this with like a big orchestra would make it a much more interesting experience for somebody like me. And I also want to say that listening to this on my stereo and in my car, it just doesn't resonate with me. But seeing it live, I gotta say, man, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it was kind of cool to see it live. Let me read my notes and then we can go on.
I so hope I'm going to see them twice on back-to-back nights in July. I so hope they don't play the Decline, just because it takes up a lot of space when you could be doing other stuff.
I thought that at first, but they played like an hour and change before they played it. So they played a whole set. It was just like their encore.
You got your fill, yeah.
And I think that actually answers my question earlier about Fat Mike's opinion on this song, because why else would he close his final tour with this unless it was something he was the most proud of?
It's considered. You know how they do like a full album for every show. It's on the list, like it's on the rotation of even though it's not an LP. Like to them, I think it rises to that level of it being they consider it a release like that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go through and read my notes. It's not that gonna take me that long. It's a little bit of writing, but not that big a deal. And then I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
So I put starts off as a very typical NOFX song in melody, lyrics, etc. Personally, I actually like that quite a bit. At 3 minutes and 9 seconds, it changes with that bass line. I gotta say, the production on this is fantastic. Don't really care for the lyrics, but the music is awesome on this particular part of the song. It's like a transition track almost. It's like real short. At 4 minutes and 11 seconds, song 3 starts. A story about Jerry. Who is Jerry? I don't know who Jerry is. You know who Jerry is?
I don't know.
But it's got really good lyrics. That part of the EP has got fantastic lyrics from 4 minutes and 11 till 6 minutes and 7. At 6 minutes and 8, we got song number 4. Sounds like the end of an album or side A of one. They're trying to keep it interesting, I guess. But I think that's probably at the point where they would have it turn into a side B if they were going to do it on vinyl. I don't know because I've never experienced that. 6 minutes and 50 seconds sounds exactly like another one of their songs, and I can't tell you which one. But you mentioned earlier that a lot of this stuff is like repurposed later for full songs, and I was hearing that a lot at about halfway through, maybe a third of the way through. 8 minutes and 22 seconds, song number 5 starts. It's got a great bass line, nice little solo in that part. At 9 minutes and 45 seconds, this is the part of the album that I like the most. It's they do Tool better than Tool does.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly the schism part. They do like that schism part right in there.
Yeah. And then I put maybe my favorite part, ... Nope, definitely my favorite part. So from 9 minutes and 45 till about 11 minutes, that's my favorite song on the Decline. 11 minutes in, they start song number 7. I don't care for the execution of this one, but the lyrics are relatable and it hits close to home. This is really where I start to lose interest. Even though the second half of this one is good, it just loses. Second half, that's part of the song is what I'm talking about. It just loses me before it even gets there. And then 13 minutes, 20 seconds in is song number 8. Good lyrics, but otherwise kind of boring and monotonous. And then at 15 minutes in, this is where I get very, very angry about this album. You have like 4 minutes of almost nothing. It starts the incredibly long outro. It lasts 3.5 minutes. It is just a waste of time, in my opinion. But I do like the lyrics that they scream in there, that Melvin screams a little bit. But there's so few of them. It's like 3.5. It's so absurd. Like, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I think that is the reason I have the opinion on this that I have, is because the end of it is the part that I like the least. And so when I listen to it, it's one damn song. So by the time I get to the end of the fucking song, it's about 3 minutes of shit I don't like. So, like, if anybody loves this, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that do, I want to know what it is that you like about it specifically, because you're going to tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Tell me I'm wrong. Get that out. Whatever. But, like, what is it you like about this? Because it doesn't exceed their other efforts when you go head to head with them. I just think I feel like this is more of a project for them than it was for us almost. Yeah, that's been a popular thing that musicians have been doing the last couple of decades.
Right, and I think it was intended to be that, although it really did resonate with the NOFX fans. Like, again, this is not. It's again, there's a reason why it's also played and accepted as one of the albums that they're gonna play live. I would say it's funny because I have kind of not necessarily the opposite opinion, but like I've always loved the intro. I like the kind of foreboding sort of like the sound that the intro. It feels like something bad's about to happen.
Well, I like the intro.
It kind of opens up.
I like the intro.
And then I also like specifically. I like a lot of the lyrical parts, but when it's a little clearer with the Jerry, and then there's a part too where I just like the way some of the little puns. Like, I don't know if he meant to play on Jerry only, but where the way he says it, Jerry only stay, because he does a lot of that.
Oh, I'm sure he did that on purpose. Music. It had to be on purpose.
And then all the bass lines, the schism part, but I actually really love the end, the outro part. That's the part that really kind of hooks me back, because it loses me kind of towards the middle. And then it's at the end where it starts flowing, that like distorted trumpet stuff that's going at the end. I really liked that.
It just gets repetitive very quick. Sorry. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
And that's why it's like one of those like kind of it's like an epic. It's those things that are kind of a little bit too long in order to which is the thing that punk rock never does. Punk rock never overstays its welcome.
That's one of my favorite things about punk.
And so this sort of pushes that boundary kind of on its side, because I think you can't say it does it, but like, it's funny you're talking about. I didn't listen to it a ton as a kid, but like it would not bother me like when I'd get in my truck and then I go back in and it would still be going. Like it was just like we're just picking up at another part. Like that did not really bother me as much. But I think of like I listened to it a lot less, and I was thinking about this earlier. When I was a kid, for whatever reason, I drove around listening to a lot of NOFX, but at the house I listened to more Rancid. I don't know why. I don't know because Rancid's like a more emotional kind of band or what it was. But NOFX.
I mean, I had the bands that were like car bands and house. I mean,
NOFX was always good, like driving music for me, and the Decline didn't really fit as much with that kind of group of music. So I think that's why that one got a little more discarded from me than the rest of the discography.
Look, man, I understand the irony in me wearing this hoodie and this hat while talking about this particular release by them, because I don't really like it that much. I think it's objectively pretty well made. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I think the production on it's phenomenal, though. I like the way the sounds that I get out of it are really good.
Yeah.
The bass specifically was really well done in that recording. But first off, if you're fans of this and you're big giant NOFX fans, who's Jerry? Please explain this to me. I want to know. I'm interested. But
look it up. It's probably something really obvious that for like the hepatitis bathtub or someone we know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have never been into songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, the Green Day song,
Jesus of Suburbia.
Jesus of Suburbia. I don't like the big epics. They're never really my thing.
Mhm.
I have really crucially bad ADHD, so 2-minute songs are great. My movies that I watch are all 90 minutes or less. I don't like the big long movies either. It's just not what I enjoy. If you like this effort from NoFX, then I hope you listen to it and get a lot out of it. I truly, sincerely have no issue with people that like what they like. Like, it just doesn't make me upset. I'm not mad by somebody liking this. I'm not going to be super upset when you tell me I'm wrong. Just
It would have been good research. I just saw real quick that Krista Makes did an hour with Mike in November on his podcast about this song. We should have actually listened to that before we had this conversation. That might
wait, what now?
So I was just looking. I was like, wait, who is Jerry? And there's all kinds of stuff. But then I saw that Krista Makes actually did an hour long podcast on his.
Oh wow!
You know, where he does that podcast where he breaks down the songs with the artist and what was this part.
Yeah,
we should have probably listened to that before we did this to add.
I didn't know he did that. We can. How about this? Then we can just make this a part 1 of NoFX The Decline. And next week we can just, on the very end of it, we'll talk for a few more minutes about NoFX The Decline. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Dude, look, I don't hate this, man. Like, people are gonna think that I hate this.
Use that as a context to it, because I do feel like you and I are like, of all the things in NoFX's like discography, I feel least connected though to the Decline.
Well, that's okay. It's kind of like any other thing that I love. That it's just the part that I don't care for much. It's the part I would get through the first if I was eating NoFX as a meal. I would go, let me get through this and get this over so I can enjoy the rest of my meal. This is the vegetables for me.
Of the good NoFX, I should say, not like The Longest Line or like some
yeah,
other, like they're because again, a 40-year career. There's also like actual crap that NoFX will tell you is crap. Right. You know what I mean? So, but of like the quality stuff that sounds good that's recorded, well, it is the thing I'm emotionally least connected to for sure.
I will continue to repeat that I'm not saying this is bad. I don't think that is bad. I just don't really like it, and I don't think that it's as good as a lot of folks tell me that they think it is. And I don't really understand why they think it's so great, because it's a long song and it's got good lyrics. I mean, they've got many songs with great lyrics and great production and great songwriting that aren't boring me. You know what I'm saying? Because this song is hard for me to get through. It's the last part of it. I really have a problem with it. I don't know why they put it on there. There's nothing. I don't get it. But I guess if I was writing a song of this length, if you look at it proportionally, it's like an outro to this 15 seconds on a 2.5-minute song. So, you know, if you look at it like that, it's just like any other thing. It's just swollen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, talking music is so weird, bro. Like, the longer we do this, the more I'm like, this is a weird thing we decided to do.
Well, it's funny. I always hear musicians say like they don't ever feel any of their songs are finished even after they're published.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you think of like a song like this, that's probably exactly like, should we do one? Should we add that stanza in just one more time? And when you're dealing with this length of time, those decisions seem like, I'm also not second guess. Like, it's hard to kind of second guess because like, there's probably a million different ways you can kind of go with these things. It is funny though to see when punk rock, something that's really like goes against this, again with something that's short songs, efficient and all this stuff, when it butts up against this stuff and what that looks like and what that comes out as.
What's more punk rock than doing exactly what a bunch of punk rock kids would say is not punk rock?
Yeah, that is the thing.
I mean, that's. So, I mean, for that, saying that would say that this probably is NoFX's most punk. I would say that, I can't say my sentence right. Based on that, I would say the Decline is the most punk rock thing that NoFX ever put out, based solely on the fact that it's not very punk rock of them to do a 18-minute long song, which is probably what Mike was thinking when he did it. I don't know.
I mean, literally all their album before that, the title song was "It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite." The album they had right before that. So
yeah, I love that.
Mike has been slinging these arrows back for like 30 years. He's been fighting these battles, and it's funny because in this era he's a frontliner in self-defense, and then like 2 years later he's the old timer and he's the old man yelling at the cloud, and it happened that quick. Just like us, man. We were being gate kept against, and now we're doing this. And I'm saying bands shouldn't exist.
I mean, it's
you live long enough, you become a villain, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Batman was right. All we're speaking about is opinions, man. I mean, this is entertainment at the end of the day on all fronts, even the music. So before we get out of here, I got a little thing to tell you. I want to talk about
Yeah, your Rancid thing you got me for my birthday just fell off the wall.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that was.
Because that command strip wasn't quite mounted the right way.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah. So I just saw it go, no, and then clang.
It's just like, I'm leaving.
Lars Fredrickson was
Bam.
done with this conversation. He had to jump off my wall.
Oh, shoot, that was Tim Armstrong.
Oh,
The one you talking about, the one that I made, the one I painted for you?
yes, the one you crafted.
Yeah, that's Tim Armstrong. That's what's so cool about that photo is that it's Tim and not Lars on the Out Come the Wolves thing. Anyways, okay, so before we go, let's talk Rancid because this is what we have to do every week.
Okay.
So, how do you feel about B-sides and C-sides?
I mean, I've listened to it over the years, but like when they re-released it, I haven't really like dove back into it. Just more out of.
They added 3 songs. They added 3 songs to the vinyl release. It sold out immediately, bro. I didn't know that, or I would have bought more copies so I could give you one. But so I really like that, but I don't consider it an album. And when we did our rankings, we didn't include it, because it's a compilation. And I was having a conversation in the comments about that with somebody. So that doesn't mean anything other than I don't consider it an album per se, but I really do like it. It's got a lot of great songs on it, and I did a whole live stream where I did the whole record. I did every song and I explained where the song came from and why it was on that compilation. And in doing that, I didn't know. I don't know why I didn't know. I guess I would have. If I had thought about it, I might have realized that 2 of my favorite Rancid songs are from the Rancid self-titled 2000 sessions. So when I did,
amazing.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Big
so
news.
when I did that video or live stream going over self-titled, and we listened to every song on that, and I was talking to people, and we kind of all collectively agreed that self-titled 2000, while people remember it fondly, when you get back and you listen to it, because I put my money where my mouth was. I was like, oh, I'm wrong. This album is fantastic. Let's listen to it. So we did, and I had comments on every song as to what I thought about it, because there are a couple I like, and there are a couple that are really popular that I don't necessarily love, but I can understand why they're popular. There's a large amount of filler, in my opinion. And so somebody said, man, you should do a video recreating self-titled 2000 as an EP. And I was like, oh, I don't know if there's even enough songs for that. And then I started toying around with it. I thought, you know what? I think I am going to make that video. And I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then when I'm going through B-sides and C-sides, I find 2 more songs that absolutely can be included in this video. We have, if I'm not mistaken, we've got, I think it's Blast 'Em. Is it Blast? Let me look. Hold on. I can look and tell you. It was Sick Sick World is one of them.
Oh, I love that song. That's on the Warped Tour comp in 2001. That's the song that got me into Rancid. No joke.
Oh, really? I love that song.
Yeah,
I'm so happy
it's
you
a
like that song.
sick world. Come on down. Yeah.
Okay, so it
opens the Warped Tour 01 compilation. So
really?
that was a compilation that it came from. You know, that was one of the spots that it was at.
That is my favorite performance by Tim Armstrong vocally. Period. Because he's just like blah 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 blah, and he's saying something. I don't know what he's saying. But I always thought that was just so charming because it's so absurd that he's saying stuff.
I'm so glad you mentioned that one. I love that. I haven't thought of that song in years, but yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I love that song. That song is one of my favorites. So let's see here. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see. We've got Killing Zone. No. All right. Yeah, Sick Sick World. Oh, that's what it was. Benzonato and Dead and Gone were both on the Let Me Go single. They were B-sides to the Let Me Go single. Sick Sick World had its own 12-inch single. It was also, like you said, on the 2001 Warped Tour comp. And it was on the import version of Self-Titled 2000. So it was the Japanese extra song. And then I think that's all the ones that were from that era. But there were like 2 or 3 songs from that era that I really enjoyed. And so I was thinking like, oh, dang, man, I could really make a good EP out of that record if I could include the B-sides. And so I'm going to make another album. Like I'm going to make it up and make a little playlist and recreate Rancid 2000 if it was a good album. People get so upset by that.
Trimming the fat is what you're doing.
Oh yeah, there's lots of it, dude. But I thought it was pretty cool that those two of my favorite songs, dude, Sick Sick World is like legitimately, dude, Just a Feeling is another one. Dude, so on that B-sides and C-sides, you've got a few of just like fantastic songs. You've got Devil's Dance, Killing Zone, but then you've got Blast 'Em. Oh, amazing song, dude. Things to Come, amazing song. Sick Sick World, again, when we just talked about, that's entertainment. The Brothels, I consider a classic Rancid song, First Given the Boot Comp. Just a Feeling, one of my favorite songs by them. Brixton, Kill the Lights, I Wanna Riot is like literally in my top 10 Rancid songs.
One of their most famous songs too, actually. If you like, of people that have heard songs, I Wanna Riot from the Beavis and
Butthead really?
Soundtrack.
That's amazing. Yeah. Then you have 3 songs that were included on the new vinyl release. You have Blacklisted. You have a song. Okay, I've never even heard Blacklisted until yesterday, ever. This is 2 Rancid songs I've never even heard. Blacklisted. And then there's one called Christmas Eve, She Got Up and Left Me. Have you ever heard that song?
Wasn't that a Tim Timebomb song?
I don't know. It was included on, let's see.
I've heard that title. I'm listening to it right now in my ear. I don't recall this, but.
It was on K-Rock's Kevin and Beans Faux Shizzle St. Nizzle Christmas compilation from 2002.
Okay, so
I really like that song a lot, but then they have one from the Troublemaker era that is, I think, the import song for Troublemaker, which was Fuck You, and I love that song. People didn't like it, I loved it. But my point is that we had a good time listening to that record. I think you should revisit it and make some content out of it. It's being talked about a lot right now. That video got a lot of views on my channel. It's still kind of rocking and rolling.
I should do something else that always gets a ton of views when I do Rancid content. I'm listening to this. I haven't heard a lot of those songs in a long time because, like, they were kind of cobbled together from compilations, and
well, yeah, I mean that's all it is a comp. It's a big
other
comp.
People, like, for whatever reason, when like the early days of people downloading music, a lot of the like rare stuff would be on people's downloads for whatever reason. Like, I would get a lot of these songs that were like, so it even like I Wanna Riot. I remember knowing and could not figure out, like, I had all the Rancid albums. And again, you just didn't have the internet to like look it up. Where the hell was I Wanna Riot? Like, I could not figure out where that came from.
Do you know where that originally came from?
For the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack, doesn't
it? Yeah, I knew that song immediately. I knew it.
And I knew the Beavis and Butthead movie and stuff. But I remember people would tell me, "Oh, I like Rancid. They're the I Wanna Riot band." And I knew the song, and I could not. And I had all the albums, and I'm looking. I could not figure out. Well, where the hell does that song come from? It took me years to figure that out.
I used to hate like exclusive tracks in the internet age. It doesn't bother me, but back when you had to have physical media only, that stuff drove me nuts. You get an album for one song just to have your complete collection of Rancid material.
Yeah, there's like a Megadeth album that I never realized was only released on a soundtrack, or Megadeth song.
That's wild.
And it's one of their big songs. I was like, so in order, that's kind of a good hook though if you think about it in physical media. Like, if you're the ultimate Megadeth fan, why they did you got to go buy that movie soundtrack to get that song. Like, yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, that's exactly why they did that. I mean, there was no other reason. Can I show you a couple of things that I picked up in Dallas?
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, it's pertaining to our favorite fellas.
Mm-hmm.
So do you buy anything off of Rancid Records, like that little label that they do?
No, not really.
It's got a few really, really good. How do you feel about Devil's Brigade?
I can't listen to it a lot because
it's so much better. Well, okay, it's the best stuff that he's ever done, though, in my opinion. It sounds good, man. Like, I forgot how good it was, so I'll listen to it again today because I bought some of it. First off, dude, I found this and I couldn't believe that they had this at that show. Mm-hmm. You ever listen to Real Mackenzie's? Mm-hmm. Dude, this album is so good. My dad bought me this when I was young. I bought a couple of things from Elvis of Left Alone, and that was one of them. He also sold me this Out Come the Wolves 7-inch set.
Oh, nice.
White vinyl, 25th anniversary. And then I bought this 3 LP. I'll send you a.
Is that Old Moon Stompers or is that the?
No, it's Hooligans United. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
I haven't. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, it's on the streaming services, I think, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Well, it's got a lot of great bands on there. Then I picked up a couple of things from Rancid Records. They had a Necromantics
nice.
Dead Bodies single.
Necromantics, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Then they had Devil's Brigade on red vinyl. I got 2 copies.
That is a really cool find, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got the Vampire Girl one. I'm gonna go look for the full length after we get off the call here in a second.
Nobody owns that. That's crazy. That's insane.
What?
The devil, like physical Devil's Brigade vinyl. Like,
Oh,
Wow.
I was pretty hyped to find that stuff. Like that was like I was like, and so there's a funny story because when I picked that out of the box, that's what got Elvis and me talking because he literally ran over and goes, "Dude, you are the only person that knows what that is." And he's like, "Those came from like my personal stash." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, I kind of stuck them in there to see if anybody would know what they were." He's like, "I've been out here for hours. Nobody's picked them up until you." I was like, "Let's go." And I was like, "Well, I'll buy all of it then." He goes, "Oh, really? There's like 4 or 5 in there." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." So I picked everything out that had Rancid Records on it because I think he's associated with that label a little bit. And I bought all of it from him. He was super cool, man. A really nice guy.
That's where I got
But
that Hellcat shirt from. Was that a Pumpkin Drublick from Elvis? Just in his little
nice.
stand. Yeah.
What
Got
size
like
shirt do you wear?
XL now.
XL now?
Yeah.
I'm down to a large. I bought a medium hoodie and a medium denim jacket. I just sleeved it tonight. I'm gonna start putting patches and stuff on it this week.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, man, I got some cool stuff, dude. I bought a couple of CDs. I got some cool stuff, man. It was a good overall good weekend. I bought the CD of that so I could listen to it at the shop easily because it's like 3 LPs. I just don't want to pull with it. But this is actually 2 CDs. Damn. That's crazy, bro. When you gotta have 2 CDs, that's a lot of music.
Yeah, I don't know which one's better, that one or Old Moon Stompers. I like them both.
Oh, based solely on the amount of artists on this would trump that one by a lot, I would think. I'll listen to it and find out what my actual opinion is, but just looking at it, I'm like, well, this is far, far more extensive and a lot of bands that I really, really love and a handful that I'd never heard of. Awesome. So, okay, we're gonna watch. Who did the?
Chris DeMix, your buddy.
That's right. That's right. We'll watch his podcast, I guess, with Fat Mike.
Yeah, presumably, probably recorded at the museum. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would think so. So we'll watch that,
and
we'll do another little thing on the decline. I hope people understand that I don't hate the album. I just don't understand this popularity. Is more or less my stance on it all. I just simply don't understand why it is looked at as this masterpiece. I do think it's impressive. I am impressed by it. I just simply don't get the extent of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a fanatic for Terrifier. And so there's a lot of people that don't understand that, and I don't really have an answer for it other than I just like it. So if somebody just goes, people are like, I just like it a lot. That's an acceptable answer. So if that's your opinion, by all means, let me know. But yeah, man, it's been a hell of a conversation, dude. I cannot believe that it was actually.
This was supposed to be a slack off podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
and we went all deep in all kinds of directions. That's
dude,
funny.
We went super deep, broski. So okay, I'm gonna go find some months that these albums were released in, and then I will send you photos of all these pages, and we'll figure out something April related, and we'll talk about it next week. And so, folks, sorry for the lack of awareness for what's coming up next week, but it'll be fun nonetheless.
Gotta tune in.
Yep, gotta tune in, man. All right, Rob, anything else you gotta say before we go?
No, I'm good.
All right, brother. Good talking with you, man. Yeah, if you need something, let me know, bro. Everybody else, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, dude. We're rocking and rolling. We're heading towards 5K, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you so much for your support. Love you guys. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.